So we just finished eating our dinner and I'm upstairs prepping for the week for our homeschool, but I wanted to tell y'all what we thought about the shrimp, kale, and butternut squash saute, and we give it 2 thumbs up. If you saw my last video, you know that I was stuck deciding, do I use the cooked shrimp or the raw shrimp for this recipe? And I am so thankful for my online community because one of my Instagram friends saw that I was trying to figure out how to saute shrimp, and she was kind enough to reach out and give me some instructions. So Leah, thank you so much for coming to my rescue and giving me direction for what I should do, because the recipe just says 12 ounces of shrimp, and for a beginner, I was lost. I found this recipe at Confessions of a Fit Foodie, and I'll put the link in my description below in case some of you want to give it a try too. And I chose it because it is marked healthy and easy. So I thought this sounded tasty, and it also has the servings and portions marked for my eating plan, as well as the smart points if you're doing the WW plan. So once my shrimp was selected, it was time to get the party started and to get those bad boys thawing in some cold water. So I put those in the sink to thaw with running water, and then I got to chopping. So for this recipe, you just need cooking spray, olive oil, red onion, butternut squash, and I just used some butternut squash that I already had in the freezer that is steamable in the microwave, and that ended up working just fine, honestly. And then you'll need kale, shrimp, garlic, salt, pepper, and some fresh lemon and crushed red pepper. So pretty simple, not a long list. I thought I can handle this. So my next hurdle was the kale. I wasn't sure if I was supposed to keep the stems or get rid of them, and I don't recall ever eating a salad that's had really crunchy and fibrous parts of kale in it. So I was pretty sure I was supposed to get rid of them, but I did a quick Google search to confirm that, and yes, you do get rid of them. What would we do without Google? Seriously. So I got that all chopped up, and then the recipe calls for 2 cups of kale, and so I just measured it out in my green portion control container, which is for vegetables. But with this, you have to be sure that you can fit the lid on top, otherwise the measurement is off and it's too much. And then I measured my second cup just in a regular measuring cup, so you could see that I'm just putting a cup of kale in there. But for the future, I would add more kale. Just FYI, my husband and I think would prefer a little bit more kale in this recipe. After that, I chopped up the onion, and oh my goodness, my eyes water like nobody's business. I definitely need to put on my to-do list, learn how to chop up vegetables more efficiently, or if there's some kind of onion chopping trick so that you don't have watering eyes the entire time, I would love for someone to share that with me in the comments. After that, the recipe called for minced garlic, so I got out my garlic press, and I seriously needed the strength of Samson to press this garlic. So again, if you have a garlic press that you love and does not require all of your strength to press it out, please put it in the comments below, because I would love to have a garlic press that works well and doesn't require all my physical strength. After that, I went ahead and chopped up my lemon, even though you don't need that till the end because you just squeeze it over the finished product. Okay, so once everything was chopped up, I headed over to the skillet and I got to sauteing my onions, and I learned that sauteing something simply means to put it in your skillet with a little bit of oil or butter or something like that you're cooking it in for just a little while till it's done, or with vegetables that they're soft or translucent. So yay, I learned something. Sauteing, woohoo! Also, I might mention that I did this on medium heat, and it just took me a while to feel like I was constantly guessing if these onions were done. And then I stepped aside to put my butternut squash into the microwave so it could start steaming. And then I lost track of time on my onion, and they got a little bit brown, but not too bad. And I guess that's my problem, why I tend to burn things. I like to multitask and then things get burned. So I'm working on that. Having a little more patience and being mindful will help me to burn less items in the kitchen. So then after the onions look translucent, I put in the garlic and the squash, and I just allowed that to cook. In the recipe it says 10 to 15 minutes, but since I already had my butternut squash steamed in the microwave, I just mixed it together for a couple of minutes and called it a day. So then I put all of that mixture aside in a bowl, and I got some olive oil and put that in my skillet and warmed it up, and then I added in my shrimp and I spaced them apart because that's what I read to do. And then I sprinkled on the red pepper flakes, and that was definitely questionable. It just says a few shakes of crushed pepper, and I definitely used more than a few shakes. But yeah, I guess that's part of the cooking process, is that you're just practicing and figuring out what a few shakes is for you versus someone else. Anyway, it worked out, and then I put the timer on and I sauteed these on about medium heat for 1 to 2 minutes until they were pink and opaque, trying not to cook them too long because evidently they will become rubbery if you cook them too long. After my shrimp looked finished, I added my squash mixture to the skillet, and then I put in the kale, and I just cooked that until that wilted down. And then I squeezed the lemon juice across the top and let that all cook together, and then sprinkled it with some salt and pepper. And again, in the recipe, it just says sprinkle with some salt and pepper. So I ended up doing like 1/8 of a teaspoon because I was worried I would do too much. Anyway, that looked like the right amount to me. So that's what I did. And then I figured we could add salt and pepper to our own personal servings. I think it looks pretty good, and I'm really proud of myself for figuring this out and not getting frustrated with myself and just being patient and seeing the challenges as they came and looking things up even when I felt really, really silly and thinking, I'm almost 40 years old, I should totally know how to do this, and I don't know how to do this. But then someone commented on my last video and said that when they were learning how to cook, they also were confused with the raw shrimp and the cooked shrimp, and they bought the raw shrimp and set it out to serve as kind of like a shrimp cocktail. And their daughter ate it and was like, something's wrong with this shrimp. And their husband said, oh my gosh, these shrimp have not been cooked. So that made me feel better that when you're learning how to do shrimp, there's a learning curve. So if you're out there and you're like me, or you're like my friend, and you're learning how to deal with shrimp and you feel like you're middle-aged and you should already know how to do this, hang in there. You're not alone. I'm right there with you. So this made 2 servings, and so my husband and I ate this together, and those are our plates. And as you can see, I think that's a good amount of food for each of us. So we just finished eating, and I'm upstairs prepping for our homeschooling week. But I wanted to tell y'all what we thought about the shrimp, kale, and butternut squash saute before I forgot. My husband and I both really liked it, and it only makes 2 servings. So I didn't worry about doing this for my kids. I figured they probably wouldn't have eaten it anyway. So it was a good night to do it for us, and then they could just eat leftovers. But it had great pops of lemon, and we give it 2 thumbs up. Yay, 2 thumbs up. But I wanted to share my thoughts with y'all. You see, I have my notes all over here, so next time I can remember what I'm supposed to do and not supposed to do. So we loved the different flavors. The pops of the lemon and the red pepper flakes added a nice amount of heat. And we thought it was very well balanced with lots of shrimp. But it does only serve 2. And it probably wouldn't make great leftovers. I haven't tried that, but I don't think it would taste great reheated. We'll definitely do this again. I made all the notes so I can put it in my recipe binder so I can look it up for next time. I feel like I learned a lot, like how to saute something and how to saute shrimp and make sure it's cooked well. So overall, I would say this is a very successful first recipe, and I'm very excited that it worked out for me. Yay! So next week, I've picked out a shepherd's pie recipe that I'm gonna try. So if you're gonna stick with me while I learn how to operate my kitchen, I will see you next week as I learn how to cook a shepherd's pie. Bye! And it also has the servings and portions marked for my eating plan, as well as the smart points if you're doing the WW.